Hi, my name's Ben. I'm going to talk to you today about bow drill equipment and technique. There are a few parts to a bow drill set. You have a flat board, a palm rock or palm board, and you have spindles. These are 4 different kinds, different diameters, different lengths. Each of them has their own purpose. I'm going to talk to you like you're just starting out or haven't had much experience with bow drill equipment and bow drill fires. The optimal length for a starter spindle is about 6-7 inches long, about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and it needs to be straight. It can't be humps or bumps or knocks or anything in it if you want to get a good ember. If you're using your spindle and while you're drawing your bow you hear a knocking sound, then you need to look at your spindle and find out where it's hitting, because that vibration is going to dislodge any punk that you're building up, and it'll take a lot more energy to make it work. Alright, talk about the bow. The bow needs to be rigid, not much flex at all, and definitely not very bowed. The more bow you have, the more flex you're going to have, and it's going to take a lot more energy to build and make your fire. This one is about hip height. You can see there isn't a lot of bow to it. You kind of start straight bows and go straight again. It doesn't have to exactly look like this, just so long as it's rigid enough that while you're drawing your bow back and forth, the bow is not flexing like that a lot. So when you're doing your bow, just pay attention to that. Flatboard. The flatboard and the spindles are both made out of sage. Now, traditionally, people make what are called chimney holes. They'll carve a slot in the side of their flatboard and then they'll make their hole in it. Now, this works. There's nothing wrong with it, but it takes a lot of energy and a lot of punk to build up enough to build an ember. So what I like to do, I like to just carve a line straight down my flatboard, and about 1/2 inch deep to start, and then carve a little notch to hold, so my spindle will fit in it. Just a little something. It doesn't take a lot. You can tell I've used a few of these. It just starts out looking like this, and then you carve a little notch and start a new hole. Now, I'm going to use an existing hole, and I'm going to use this one. You can see that there's bare wood in the bottom. It hasn't been burned out because I have carved the notches down to the base of the hole. That's essential for good air holes. You can't just have any old slot in there and make it work. It has to be wide enough that it'll accept enough punk to build up to make an ember, and it has to be deep enough so that while you're bowing, you do not go too far past your air holes. If you're past your air holes, it's just a lot more difficult to get your fire. But as long as you start out like this, you will never have a problem. Alright, now let's talk about technique. I'm going to use this one. It's a sage spindle. On the top I have knocked a top to fit my palm rock. My line is tight. There's a thing called triggering, that if while you're bowing, your string gets loose and your spindle stops spinning, you can take your bow and trigger it like this. That'll tighten it up a little bit and you can get more out of it without stopping. But I don't like to do that, so I make it extra tight to start. Now, let's talk about the technique. Most people you see are going to be like this. In fact, I haven't seen any that aren't, which is kind of amazing because it's very difficult to make it work this way. So, what's wrong with it? Why not do it this way? First off, you have to know that down pressure is the key to getting your fire. And with this technique, next to no down pressure at all. The only way you're getting any down pressure in this technique is what you have in your forearm and your wrist. And that's it. And the reason people, I think, like this technique is because it's very stable. You get your arm wrapped around your leg, and it's not going to go anywhere. You don't have to worry about wobbling all over the place. And that is important because it won't work if it's wobbling, but it's important that you do not learn this way, or at least do not do this way if you've already learned it, because it takes so much energy and time to make it work. It's discouraging. Most people don't do it because of that. So, this is the technique I've been taught by some of the best bow drill makers in the world. Alright, look at my position. What do you notice that's different? Obviously, my arm isn't wrapped around my knee. So, I have my elbow straight, and my arm is going straight through into my spindle. My whole upper body weight now is being used for down pressure. Whereas before, it was just this. I mean, my whole body weight, I'm holding my body weight up. I'm using more energy to hold myself up that way than I do this way. I'm just leaning. I'm not even doing anything. Just resting myself on this spindle like it's a crutch. Now, another thing you notice about the bow is it's not down and it's not up. It's level. If you do it like this, your rope does not travel up and down the spindle. If it gets too high up, you'll pop it out at the top. If you get too far down, it'll pop it down off at the bottom. Another thing that you have to notice is you can't have a spindle like this. In fact, every bow drill person who's done bow drills that I've noticed when they first start out is they like to bend the spindle like this, put it on an angle this way or this way. The reason that doesn't work is because you've just minimized your down pressure. Now you're back to just using your wrist. You're not transferring your body weight into the spindle. You're still just using your wrist and your forearm. So you can be a little bit off and still make it work. But do your best to line your arm up with your spindle and just lean on it. Now, let's go ahead and do a fire. Okay, I didn't even hardly try. And I have 2 embers. Look at that. Look at that. I have one here, and I have one here. Both are perfect for getting a fire. Now, because I only need one fire, I'm going to put them together. The breeze is blowing just a little bit, so I'll let it blow on my ember. See that? I have a giant burr. I didn't even try. That down pressure is key. You know, you can bow back and forth without using a lot of energy if you have enough down pressure. So remember, down pressure is the key. Sage spindles, sage flatboard. Give it a try, see if you like it.